And we're live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of America's Conspiracy Compass, where we talk about all the cool stuff. I realized something though, Sarah. I realized something.
What's that?
I don't believe 90% of the stuff that we talk about. I just like talking about it.
I was kind of just talking to my husband about that downstairs. He's like, "What are you guys talking about tonight?" And I just kind of bounced it around. I was like, it's fun to sit here. I'm an esoteric being. I feel like I can really grasp the idea of different timelines or scenarios existing. So it's fun to chase these thoughts
Yeah,
down. And
exactly.
honestly, with communication and information being shared as fast as it is, it's fun to be on the dig. Like
Yes. That's
finding out,
it's
is
just
there
cool.
anything that could back this up, that could make it true? Because I don't know, I'm just in the place where I'm like, question everything and use discernment, because
Yeah.
we do know one thing, and that's we've been lied to about a lot.
That's the one thing that I do believe right there is that our government has lied about everything from
A lot.
history to religion to everything.
And
All
you
of it.
talked about it on one of the first shows, the tiers. We say government, but quite frankly, like they're the puppets of the players, like the
Yeah.
12 families, right? The
Yeah.
the
It's
the
deep.
higher entities, or depending on how far back and how esoteric you want to get, light versus dark, good versus evil, because we've been in a spiritual battle since the creation of man.
So you remember when we were talking about like how they say that Egypt is America, right?
Yeah.
America is Egypt. Okay, so I kept digging into that because it was just fascinating, right? Bullshit. It's all bullshit. And the reason being is I found out the people's names. I got to go back and look it up.
Mhm.
The people's names that named Memphis, Tennessee, and that named all these different places, they all were in Africa before they were part of the British something. I forget the name of it. And they were in Africa. They were over there and they were in Egypt and they saw all these places and they came over here when they were discovering America and
So they brought
dividing the lands up and they named it. They started naming these places after that stuff over there. But it gets deeper. The guy in the Grand Canyon, I forget his name, Overton, Oliver, something like that. I'll look it back. We'll do a whole another show about it. But this dude was the king of lies. He was the king of deception, like creating fake, all kind of fake like hieroglyphs and structures and
Yeah, I do
how all
remember.
that stuff
Yeah.
ended up in the Grand Canyon. Like when they say that there's a Sphinx in Memphis, Tennessee, they brought that. That was brought from or
You know
built
how
right here
there
in America.
are pyramids, like matching pyramids, and we were just talking about this on the moon even, and on different
Yeah.
planets. But anyways, we have these like the evidence of civilizations copying or having downloads of the same thoughts, whether it be stories that they wrote word for word or relatively close to each other's word around the same time, right? But on totally different sides of the world, before the internet, before cell phones, before you could just dial up your buddy and be like, "Hey, etch this into a wall." We've seen that people have mimicked each other on opposite sides of the world. And so, the pole theory, what if
Or
the US is like a mimicked, like a carbon copy of, like, its flip side,
right,
like a
right.
mirrored image almost. Because it's, what a weird thought is, I nerded out and I watched Bridgerton.
What's
And it
that?
was so cute. It's such a like basic white girl show. It's so cute, whatever. Judge me, I don't care. But I was watching it and I had this weird thought that it was like, oh my gosh, well, in Europe, this time of high affluence and fancy skirts and girdles and elaborate gold this and, like, the royal families and all of that really being modern then. We were in like wild, wild west, shoot 'em up, cowboys and Indians, like savage here in the West.
No,
And
that's all fake.
we're gonna have
That's
to do a show on
fake.
that now because,
Yes, that I looked into already. The whole cowboy mythology and all of that. That's like the equivalent of like them having Superman back in the day.
I know
Like how we have a Superman now
when
and
you
he's
say
not
fake,
real.
I'm like, are you a Holocaust denier too?
I'm not gonna
Because 'Cause I'm
talk
like,
about
if you
that.
talk to the Indians,
I'm not gonna
you
talk
talk
about
to the
that right now
natives
because
better.
we're not just on pilled yet.
Okay, we're not
So
allowed to talk about these things over here. But,
right, but
this is
I'll
where
say
we go
this.
when we're on pilled, guys.
So I will say this though about the whole Indians thing, right?
Right.
I don't believe that the Indians that are here today on reservations,
The natives, right?
but
I think it
they're
was
not the
slaves.
natives of this land.
They were moved over.
They are not the natives of this land.
So
They
many
came,
things
they
to question.
came, the ones that came, this is what I believe personally. The ones that you ever seen the Indians that kind of look Asian?
I I mean, yeah, I think I
Okay,
understand that, yeah.
they came through Alaska through that
Well,
way.
there were different tribes, of course, you know.
Right, but this was like what? They say 8,000, 10,000 years ago or something like that. And they
I don't
crossed
know.
over.
I'm not the time. I'm a storyteller. I'm not the
I
time.
gotcha. But there are tribes that are over here that are from America that predate them.
Yeah.
And they didn't look like the Hollywood Red Indian is a new concoction. That's not accurate. And that's just my belief. I could get into why, with history, because I
Well,
love
maybe
history.
we'll have to make that a show. We'll make that an
Yes.
episode because
If you go
that
back and look at all the pictures that was taken, and since when the photography was invented, when you look at the pictures of Indians and then predate that and go back to when they painted, when they first came to the Americas and landed in Jamestown, right?
Mhm.
If you look at the paintings of Indians, of what they look like, it'll blow your mind. It's
All right.
it's the reason why so-called slaves, right, were able to run and escape and go and hide amongst the Indians and not be discovered. They look just alike.
They look just like them. Yeah. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
It gets deep. It gets real deep. And then this is a whole nother show that I probably will do this tomorrow, right? But I'm a denier of the stories that they tell about the transatlantic slave trade, and I'm a
Mhm.
denier of Harriet Tubman.
Oh, I at this point, nothing shocks me anymore. It used to all be so absolutely exhausting because I really wanted to figure it out. And now I'm just like, well, let's hear it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Let's hear it.
it gets real deep. It gets real deep, man, when you start looking at the history, like written history in the states. So each state has their own recorded history.
Yeah, and I think now we're in a time period where our history is our generation, we're gonna disappear. We're just
They've
data.
got us
We're just
all
data,
messed
and
up.
they've collected it. Nobody's writing physical books anymore, hard copies, and if they are, they're being so highly edited that it's not an actual account of what's going on. It's an opinion or a thought, and it's so hard to separate, truth from everybody's perceived reality. It's just I think we're gonna be the generation that just the hard drive's gone. The only
All
thing
I'm
you got,
gonna
like,
say
you better
is,
hope your mama printed out your baby pictures, because
yo, think about this, right? They got a thing called a $5 Indian. You know what that comes from?
no,
That-
I don't even know what
When
it
they
is.
were
Explain?
when these people paid $5 to be written down and documented as an Indian. Not talking about the
Oh,
ones that I'm not talking about the ones that are actual indigenous people. I'm talking about the
come
the
on. Are
the
you mean to
your
tell me right now, if you couldn't just, like, a couple of things in your bloodline just because, like, how are you gonna prove anything all that
well,
time?
here's another conspiracy. The 23andMe and Ancestry.com.
Oh, I took
Bullshit.
the bait. I sold it. I sold my
Straight
data.
bullshit.
I mean, is it though?
Yes.
What part do you think is?
Where they
Because it
tell
has
you that
connected.
all your bloodline, where it comes from, they could trace all the way back to what continent you're from. I don't buy none of that. I don't buy
So
any of it
it
for
has
1
connected
second.
me. So I did it because I did 23andMe before they sold all of our data, and I honestly didn't have a brain cell for it at the time. I was like, oh, I don't know anything about my biological father, like, and he was adopted, so maybe I could figure out more, about where I come from. And so I did it, and it's funny because I called my grandmother and I was like, hey, do you know who Bloody Blah is? Because we share like 70% DNA. She's like, oh yeah, that's my sister. I was like, oh, that's Aunt Cass. Like, oh, and so
I'm
it did
telling you.
connect me
No, it
to
will do that. It's
relatives,
like a DNA test. Like, I
right?
get that part of it, but I'm saying it tracing you all the way back, saying, oh, you go all the way back into this land.
What would
And you
make
go
you
all the way. If that's the case, everybody goes back to Africa. How far back are they going? You see what I'm saying?
they so
How
on mine, and we'll have to maybe we can dissect it and dig into that because that's a fun episode right there too. Is they traced me back to a Halplo group, like one of the original first 4 Halplo groups of people. And I think that whole test in itself and the data that we sold, because you guys, the only thing more profitable than the human body is your data. And that's where we're at right now. And there's some weird stuff that we should talk about. Like, I don't think we can talk about it here. And I might be
We'll
getting
just
a
give a
little bit
little
of the shadow.
tidbits right now. We'll go down
You
the
know,
rabbit hole
I
on
didn't
Pill.
think this through. And when I logged on to StreamYard yesterday, I connected my Facebook instead of YouTube. And I'm being banned just for hanging out now. So I'm like, come on over and show me some love on the book
That's
because
crazy.
they're getting me. But you know, Apple's making some updates. If you have an Apple iPhone, I would turn, if you have automatic updates on, cancel it, turn it off, because the 18 update, y'all should look into it, and the open AI that they're planning on putting into it. Elon's having a hissy fit over on X about it. And, you know, say what you will about Elon, but anytime he says something, I at least go try to do some digging and look it up, see what I think. And it's
I
a
got
little
one.
creepy.
What
And I'm
is
an
it?
Apple user. I'm like, dang it.
What's the premise? What's going on with it?
That they're putting OpenAI on the iPhone. And I was reading things like you're going to be able to use your eyes to access apps and swipe. That it's like, you know, taking constant photo of you.
That's old. We've been doing that with Galaxy for forever.
Well, OpenAI, that they're going to give OpenAI access to our data, our contacts, our phone, your website. So like it's already gathering your information, just being on a website, clicking on an ad. You know, you can say things out loud and your phone shows you on Facebook the next day. Y'all have experienced it, but this will be a new level of letting AI into everything in your phone. And ultimately, I think AI is trying to just be a conscious AI that lives on forever. I think this is the way for, you know, the Uber elites to live forever. They can duplicate their consciousness into a digital form of itself, and something about the ego wants to live forever. And it's Elon's like, pump the brakes. This is bad. No iPhones at X. All of you will be kept in a Faraday bag on a different part of property.
Whoa.
Like, he's like, if you think this OpenAI is going to respect your privacy and security, like if you do this update, Apple, they're just selling you down the river.
I'm
And
switching back to Samsung.
you know,
I
I
hate
think
Apple.
the bit in Apple is on the back of this thing, you guys. Like, and we all bought it. We all bought it. And I think sometimes, like, you know how they say, like, the mark of the beast would be in the palm of our hand or in our forehead. And I'm like,
Yeah.
where do we hold this thing? But in our hand. And it's a black mirror. That's a whole thing in itself. It's a black mirror. And that's a whole episode there. So many things, so many rabbit holes to jump into. But that's why you guys got to come follow us over on pill.net. If you haven't created an account, come on and do it. Find Cash. You can find me. I'm just a lowly over there right now, hanging out with Cash. But Cash has got great.
We're about to get it bigger, man. We're growing it. It's been doing pretty good. So if you haven't already created an account over there on pill.net, you need to. It's fun, it's free, and it's all freedom of speech.
Yeah, I love just being able to troll through and see what other people, you know, who are looking for
shit over there, right?
You can get tangled up. It's kind of like X now. X is kind of like the wild, wild west of the internet. Yeah. I feel like sometimes I log on and I'm like, oh Lord Jesus, like help my soul. I didn't mean to see it. You know? Like, are you using my search engine? Like,
yo, man, I'm telling you. So I'm about to get in trouble here in probably a day or two when I create this next video, because it's got to do with Confederate flag.
I feel like, you know, I've got some friends over on Instagram who were just deplatformed. They're fighting back. They got a couple of their platforms back. You've been deplatformed before. And I think with the election coming up, anybody expressing alternative thought of any kind, like we're seeing the crucifixion with alternative medicine. That war has been on for you know, well over a decade, but they really amped it up in 2020 when we all got ostracized for not getting the who's a what's it. You know,
what do you think about when I say Confederate flag? What do you think about?
Well, I spent my summers in Kentucky, and so I always saw it as it was the South expression of freedom. I know a lot of people thought of it quite the opposite, as oppression and slavery and chains.
But it never was that in the South.
As, you know,
it never was symbolized that as that in the South, even the time of Civil War.
I do remember reading that. And so,
do you know what it was?
That's
a Native American flag.
Oh, speaking of flags, have you seen how many states have changed their seal?
Yeah, to the Muslim, I've seen that.
So I'm like, all this time we're talking about China, we're talking about Russia. Has anyone been paying attention to like Islam taking over in America?
Yeah, I mean,
it's like 12 states or something like that has bid their And I mean, we're a melting pot. It is what it is. I think we need to
I mean,
embrace
listen, this is my thing, right? It really irritates me to see, like, okay, so I watch a lot of stuff, right? A lot of stuff. I watch a lot of motivational stuff. I will see like Arabs, that are Muslim, or Africans that are Muslim, and they try to push Islam, just like you see some of these pastors trying to push Christianity, and then you'll see like the people always talking about how this culture is great, like the Mexican culture, and as if these people don't got their own fucking problems, and they always push it towards the black community, right? And the thing is, they say, oh, you brothers need to do this and act like this. Motherfucker, you're okay. So we'll use Islam, right? You say that Islam is what we need over here and it'll help stop the killing. Yet when I go look into every Islamic ran place in the world, you got people over there killing the hell out of each other. You go to Sudan right now, and it's a whole bunch of Muslims, and they're doing the RAPE.
Mhm.
They got that
Yeah,
going on. They got a whole
it's
bunch of killing of each other, and the same thing in certain Christian nations. They got their own crimes with like
we're a
pedo
Christian.
stuff.
We were a Christian nation, and we're the largest
No, we've
consumers
never
of
been a Christian
child. You
nation.
know what? You know
No,
what?
no, we've never been a Christian nation. That's
No,
a
what do you think?
misconception.
Well, I mean, okay, so
It's always been this is what people forget about
freedom for
America.
religion, I guess, right?
Freedom
To
from
have,
religion.
from to practice, right?
That's what it was. Freedom of religion and from religion. They were fleeing religious persecution from Britain.
Right.
Remember?
True. Yeah, we did.
They
We talked
came
about
over here
that.
and said, "Yo, practice whatever the hell you want to." But then back to what I was just talking about. When you
All
hear
right.
these brothers talking about this from their countries, and then all the bullshit that goes on in their countries, they're beheading people and all types of stuff, right? And then you look at like people that say that their cultures, like, oh, they're so cultural. Mexico. I love Mexican people. Don't get me wrong. I got a lot of family and friends that's Mexican. No disrespect to them over here, but when you act like it's so culturally rich, over there, you got cartel members that are literally will tie you up and mutilate you. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? You got people selling all kind of narcotics and sex trafficking and all
No, don't
types
worry.
of stuff.
They're here now, so
So how
no.
come it's always pointing the finger to, oh, this is what you guys need to do? Who the hell made you all the authority to tell us what the hell we need to do when you got your own problems? Just because you found your religion, that's good. Keep your religion. Don't try to force none of that on nobody over here and act like that's the answer. If it was the answer, then the world would be fixed. If
So do you
religion
think
was the
the
answer,
flag is like forcing it upon people, or is it an ode to, like, for me, I take it as like an ode to loyalty, like saying, hey, we won the house. We're here now.
I mean, this is the thing with Islam, right? If they were to make the law Muslim law, Sharia, right? Then I mean, yeah, crime would definitely go down, but there'd be a lot of decapitated people. You know
Listen,
what I'm saying?
we talk about like bringing back the gallows, and that some of these crimes do seem like they should be punishable by such
Well, we
an
wouldn't have any
heinous.
leaders anymore if that was the case.
And I feel like that's probably right where we need to be at this point, because I don't know if you saw some of the headlines popping out today. I know we're not a headline show, and this isn't necessarily a conspiracy. And we actually, I probably can't even talk about it because we're on the book right now. We'll have to talk about it over there, because if you just go and see some of the headlines, there's some things happening off the coast of Florida right now with a certain submarine and a certain, guy who said, hey, you keep doing what you're doing, we're going to have trouble. And now he's testing things 66 miles off the coast of Florida.
Yeah, in Russia,
And
I
there
seen
have
that.
been numerous attacks all over the country within the last 48 hours. I think it was New York, Pennsylvania, and there was another one a little bit further west. I saved it so we could talk about it. But
Chrissy D. Our nation was
one
founded
nation
on
under
Christian
God, right?
principles, but yes, everyone could follow what faith
It was
religion they
freedom,
wanted.
freedom
I
to
mean,
to
if
have your own religions, right? But the founding fathers were one nation under God, right?
under God, not under Jesus,
Not
not
under
under
religion. Right,
Allah,
okay, I get what we're saying
under
now. We're
God.
tying religions, right, right, right. We have to
Right. When they
separate
try to say that it was
religion
found,
from
yeah,
God.
when people say it was founded on Christianity, that is a fallacy. Even George Washington himself, they called George Washington a Mohammedan Christian because his faith was not like the church that he attended. He would never take communion. George Washington would
Did we
not take
decide?
communion.
We did a whole show on George. Did we decide? Do we like him?
I mean, I liked him.
You like him? Josh is
Yeah,
ready to
I
look
like
at him
him.
right
He
now.
was,
He
you
likes
know,
him.
he was ahead of his time. I'll say that. And then when you got people like Jefferson, Thomas Jefferson got his own Bible. He notated it was like, don't agree with that. This is what it really is. This is how I feel about this.
Scary
It's
times.
there. You can go and look at his Bible. You can get a Thomas Jefferson Bible. You know what I'm
Scary
saying?
times. China just had AI rewrite the Bible. That's interesting. The Bible app on your phone's been deleting here and there too. You just didn't notice. Delete that verse. Delete that paragraph.
That's neither here nor there. Everybody had their own religion that they followed until, a certain point in time when they started pressure. Because when you say it was founded on Christian principles, well, which type of Christian? Because at that time you had a bunch of different sects like you do today of Christianity, which is where the disagreements came in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because to a Catholic, the only type of the true church is the Catholic Church in the eyes of the Catholics.
Look at us.
You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes it would be fun if somebody just wanted to like take notes from one of the shows and watch Sarah and Cash go boop 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 like 15 topics and how many minutes have we been on?
We are about to go over to Pilled only so we could get into the meat of this discussion. You guys, if you haven't already, please go over there. Pilled.net, PILLED.net. Create an account. It's totally free. Search my name. You'll see us. We'll still be live. All right. We are about to get off of here. Remove.
What's Facebook like? You got comments popping over there? I don't have it up on my screen.
Yeah, they're coming up. Just a couple. It's not a lot.
Sheesh.
We're being shadow banned.
Yeah, we probably should hook it to the